Hello, everybody. John Arbosis here, starting a couple minutes late because my condo board needed some keys. So, how's everybody doing? We are here to talk Ukraine. Lots of news. Lots of news tonight. Cue the Russians. Cue the Russians. Anyways, how's everybody doing? Things are good here. Microphone. Microphone's a good thing. Microphones are good. Sorry about that. As always, I'm sort of forgetting the mic here. Oop, there we go. It's here now, so hopefully you're hearing that. Actually, let me make sure the mic is selected as well. The mic is selected. Okay, we are good. All right, folks. Occasionally I'm going to forget the mic. It seems to be a given here. How's everybody doing? Hello, Salt Lake. Actually, yeah, give the hello from where you guys are hailing from. It is not raining. It was supposed to rain, and now it's sunny out, which is why I've got the curtains drawn because, as folks may recall, when it's sunny, my apartment gets hotter than hell. So hotter than a Russian airbase in Crimea. So, anyway, there we go. More tea for the voice. Hello, everybody. Oh, so what's going on? Yeah, we introduce where you're from, if you would. We'll take, half a minute or so to do that, maybe. Thank you, Mike Webb, for the gifts. As always, folks, you can put questions in my profile on TikTok. If it's working, I put in a request, complaint, whatever you want to call it, to let them know it wasn't working for a lot of people. And for the rest of you there, you can put it in the comment box, use the super chat questions, etc. I am going to dig in here. And then at 7 o'clock, I'm trying to keep these to about an hour now because my voice has been goofy the last 5 weeks. At 7 o'clock, we will do our usual and move over to Discord just to hang out for a little bit and shoot the breeze podcast style, but much more relaxed, nothing special, skip the important stuff. So let's start with the substance now. And then, as I said, in an hour, we'll go over to my Discord at discord.aravosis.com. But let's jump in. So the Russians attacked a residential building in Kharkiv, which is in northeastern Ukraine. Thank you, Bonnie, for that. Kharkiv is here. Kharkiv is the second largest city in Ukraine, 1.5 million people. You may recall, this is the city the Russians went after when they couldn't get Kyiv, the capital. Remember, they came down and they got kicked all the way back. Then they tried to go for Kharkiv. They got pushed back. Didn't do too well there either. Now they've been on the outskirts of Kharkiv and around here for months now, and they haven't been able to advance. But they keep bombing because obviously we know the Russians consider civilian targets a legitimate target. They're not just, look, in the West, what we would consider is if there are civilian casualties projected, we then do a balance and say, okay, what's the cost benefit? Are you taking out the H-men in World War II, but you're killing some civilians? We probably would do it, right? So, but you have to do a calculation based on it. The Russians literally consider civilian targets to be a legitimate target. And they, as you know, they have been going after civilians in Ukraine from the beginning, and they attacked a residential apartment building in Kharkiv today. More than 30 people lived in the building, including retirees and children. 7 were dead and 13 wounded in the last information that we heard. The UN chief, Antonio Guterres, is going to, actually has just arrived in Ukraine today, Wednesday. He is in Western Ukraine in the city of Lviv. Lviv is all the way over here, not under threat of a Russian invasion because it's all the way over here and all the fighting is happening around here. But Lviv gets attacked by Russian cruise missiles, and it has before. You'll recall it was one of the first places that was hit when the Ukrainians had hit across the border into Russia. And they blew up one of their oil depots and then their ammunition. The Russians attacked the oil storage facilities in Lviv. And that was around the time that Biden was visiting Poland, remember? Because it was part of Putin's cute little way to come and, jab, jab, jab and be obnoxious to Biden. Gutierrez is also going to be visiting a Black Sea port at the center of the UN-backed deal to export Ukrainian grain, just to see how that's going. The Institute for the Study of War says, oh, no, this is interesting, actually. Okay, I've been talking to you guys a lot in the last couple of weeks about how Ukraine has been softening things up here in general, but they've really been going after Kherson. And they've been Kherson, and now lately they've been going after Crimea, and they've been hitting ammunition depots, okay? Places where the Russians are storing ammunition. They're going after bridges. They're going after railroads. They're going after command and control centers where the Russians have their generals or have their colonels, but where they've got the command people who are in charge of telling the troops what to do, right? And what the Ukrainians have been doing have been softening things up to make the Russians less effective for when the big counteroffensive begins. Now, depending who you talk to, the general who I often tell you guys about, General Hertling, who's a former American general, retired. He was the head of the U.S. Army in Europe. And Hertling was saying today that he thinks the counteroffensive has already begun, and that this whole effort to, in essence, soften things up to make it so the Russians are less able to fight when the big, when the Ukrainians really go on the attack with their troops, on the ground troops and everything else, that this is the beginning of the counteroffensive, even though as time goes on, there's going to be a massive inflow of Ukrainian troops to try to push the Russians back. But all of this initial bombing and everything is the counteroffensive beginning. Now, Institute for the Study of War kind of got in the same thing, actually. So listen to this. This is that think tank that I tell you guys about. That's a big U.S. think tank on defense matters here in Washington, D.C. Very good folks. Listen to this. Attacks on Russian positions in and around Crimea are likely part of a coherent Ukrainian counteroffensive to regain control of the west bank of the Dnipro River. Now, this is interesting, okay? Last week, we had we had the Ukrainians hitting the Russian airbase around here, okay, along the coast, Crimea. Remember, Crimea is the Ukrainian territory that the Russians stole in 2014. The Russians claim it's part of Russia. It's still part of Ukraine, but the Russians are occupying it, okay? So last week, the Ukrainians hit an airbase, hitting a lot of Russian warplanes, helicopters. Then, a couple days ago, the Ukrainians attack again, and they hit an airbase further over, close to, what is that, Simferopol, that's right. I don't have my glasses on, I can't see it. Simferopol, airbase close to here, and an airbase further, not an airbase, I'm sorry, was it an ammunition? No, this was close to an airbase. This was close to an airbase, and up here I think was ammunition, but it may also have been close to an airbase, and they also hit railroad tracks. And the railroad tracks here are super important because if you zoom in on the map, you're going to see a bunch of different highways and everything coming together around here. It's a main thoroughfare for any kind of supplies coming up from Crimea, which, by the way, they come across Russia, across the bridge here, come up Crimea, and they help the region. Well, why am I bringing up all of this? This is what's really interesting. We've also been talking in the last month about how the Russians keep blowing up Ukrainian bridges. And it's interesting because I'm always kind of glad when Institute for the Study of War backs up something I've been telling you, because then at least it lets me know I've been telling you the right thing. The Ukrainians have been blowing up the bridges along the Dnipro River right here, okay? This is a river that goes all through Ukraine, cutting the country literally in half, east, west. And more typically, in most places, the Russians are on the east side of the Dnipro River. In other words, the Russians are up here. They're over here. They're over here. They're over here, here. And then they're down here. They're over here. But once you get right here, the Russians actually cross the river, and they've got troops on the north or west, however you want to call it, northwest side of the river. So this side of the river going all the way, including the town of Kherson, which the Russians occupy. Now, why does this matter? Well, if the Russians are north of the river or northwest of the river, but everywhere else they're south, right? If you start blowing up the bridges, you start to isolate the Russian troops that are north of the river. That's what the Ukrainians have been doing. And the Institute for the Study of War now says that the attacks in Crimea further south, the attacks on the airbase, the attacks on the ammunition depots, the attacks on the railway, are also meant to isolate those troops, the Russian troops that are northwest of the river. And what this is starting to look like, I'm going to read the paragraph from ISW. What this is starting to look like is this counteroffensive is it's bombing all over, but it's beginning with beating those Russian troops and kicking them out or taking them captive that are northwest of the river, that are in essence trapped. Now listen to this. Attacks on Russian positions in and around Crimea are likely part of a coherent Ukrainian counteroffensive to regain control of the west bank of the Dnipro River. Russian supply lines from Crimea directly support Russian forces in mainland Ukraine, including those in western Kherson. Kherson is this region, right? It's a town, but it's also the region, the oblast, Kherson. In western Kherson, Ukraine's targeting of Russian ground lines of communication and logistic and support assets in Crimea is consistent with the Ukrainian counteroffensive effort that has also targeted bridges over the Dnipro River and Russian logistical support elements. The net effect of this campaign, this is the important part, the net effect of this campaign will likely be to disrupt the ability of Russian forces to sustain mechanized forces on the west bank of the Dnipro River, mechanized forces meaning tanks, things like that, on the west bank of the Dnipro River, and to defend them with air and artillery assets on the east bank. In other words, the Ukrainians are trying to cut off the Russian troops, I was going to say Soviet, the Russian troops that are north and west of the river. The Chechens, this is a related story that kind of blew my mind. According to a press officer with the Mykolaiv Oblast Military Administration, this is a Ukrainian military official, okay, Dmytro Pletenchuk, said that Russian forces are increasingly moving Chechen units to Kherson, which is that region I just showed you, okay? Kherson, which is over here. Kherson is the region as well that we go north of the river and the Russian troops are going to get trapped north. That is also the Kherson region. Listen to this. So the Russians are moving Chechen units to Kherson Oblast, the region, as a police force aimed at stopping Russian forces from deserting. Institute for the Study of War cannot independently verify this statement, but it is consistent with previous Ukrainian intelligence reports that Russian forces are deploying Rosgvardia, which is the National Guard, and Chechen units to the left bank of the Dnipro, which is that northwest side I was telling you about, to the left bank of the Dnipro River to block Russian personnel from retreating from northern Kherson. They're putting their best troops, the Chechens, who are wild maniacs, and their National Guard troops north of the river to stop all the regular Russian troops from running away. I mean, that is also, by the way, an indication that what the Ukrainians are doing is working, that it's freaking the Russians out. And clearly what that confirms is that the Russians have a morale problem, and they're particularly having a morale problem with the troops northwest of the river. And why? Because the Ukrainians are attacking and attacking and attacking, and these guys are terrified of having, by the way, not only do they not get reinforcements because the bridge is now going to be so bad that they can't get weapons, but crossing the bridge is going to be difficult as well. If the Ukrainians come down and attack from the north, these guys are going to want to retreat, and they may not be able to retreat if the bridge is taken out. So very interesting. Let me have a little more tea here. One sec. Russia has pulled military aircraft out of its Crimean air bases. Okay, again, Crimea down here. The Ukrainians hit the air base last week here. They hit another one, I believe it was around Simferopol, like I said. And then here, I think, was more ammunition. But because the Ukrainians have now hit 3 key targets in Crimea, and these targets are basically farther away than the Ukrainians should have been able to hit. The weapons that we and the rest of NATO have provided them cannot go far enough to hit what the Ukrainians have hit. And the Ukrainians, they're playing coy, but they seem to have admitted that the most recent attack was special forces. So it looks like they sent in, the Marines or whatever it is, whatever you'd call them, the Ukraine side, to go in and basically secretly lay bombs. It also looks like the Ukrainians might have used a drone to drop some of the bombs. Sorry, one second here. Adjusting my temperature as always between hot and cold, hot and cold. Hang on a second here. Yeah. So the Ukrainian Defense Ministry's main intelligence directorate reported that no less than 24 planes and 14 helicopters have been transferred out of airfields in Crimea to bases further away from the front line and out of the peninsula to Russia. This is great news too, because now it's further for the Russian planes are farther away. The helicopters are farther away. It's not clear what can and can't reach the Ukrainians in this area. But the Russian planes are now a lot farther away when they used to be. It's just gonna make it harder for the Russians to attack. And by the way, it may also give more warning if the U.S. and others, and we know they are keeping an eye on satellite imagery and everything else. It may give more warning as to when the Russians are getting ready to attack with using these air bases. So again, big deal. Russian media, this was an aside, but I thought it was interesting. Russia has appointed a new commander for its Black Sea Fleet. Russia state news agency, citing its sources, said that Russia's Black Sea Fleet, based in occupied Crimea, has named Viktor Sokolov as a new commander. I just thought it was interesting because they've been having so many problems in Crimea. And mind you, before that, remember, they've also had problems going back to the Moskva, which was the ship that the Ukrainians sank, the flagship, the big, famous Russian ship that sank. Then we've got maybe a month or so ago that the Ukrainians kicked the Russians off of Snake Island, which is there in the Black Sea as well. So, and now you've got these 3 bombings of Crimea in just the last week. And what do you know? Lo and behold, the commander of the region just got replaced. It's interesting. And actually, if it's related, it probably is related to all this. Thank you, Ellie. It probably is related to all of this. And it just, constantly shaking things up. It makes it harder to do your job. Thank you, KK, for that. Think about it like when you start a job. Whenever I start a new job, I always say it's going to be 6 months until I can do anything real, just to learn what's going on, get to know people. Every time you shake it up, you're shaking up the command. You're shaking up who these guys are working with, having a new boss. I mean, everything. The new boss, maybe depending where he's coming from, he may even be less familiar with what's going on. It just isn't good. It's not good for morale and cohesion, and it's not good for sort of the efficiency to keep changing bosses. But, oh well. What was this? Oh, yeah. So Ukraine, I bet there's a lot of good news today. I don't have, other than that bombing in Kherson, there isn't a lot of bad news today. It's really good. Ukraine has presumably destroyed a Russian military base in Kherson, in Kherson, in occupied region. In Novakhovka. Oh, interesting. Okay, Novakhovka. Novakhovka here's Kherson, the town, like I said, north of the river. Here's the river. Novakhovka, more or less, it's kind of where the tip of my finger is on the river. So not very far away from Kherson. If you just go east, I'm not sure on the map, but I'm going to venture 5-10 miles. It's just not that far. Okay. So this is saying that the Ukrainians appear to have destroyed a Russian military base in that area. The Strategic Communications Department of Ukraine's Armed Forces said on August 17th, which is today, that according to preliminary data, Ukrainian forces killed between 10 to 15 Russian soldiers, and more troops have been injured as a result on the attack on the base. There were explosions near a Russian command center in Melitopol. Explosions heard in the center of Russian-occupied Melitopol allegedly took place near a Russian command center. Mind you, notice it's the command centers, it's the bases. Again, they're kind of going after everything that you would need to make the Russians less efficient at fighting back, right? Their leaders, the bases, the ammunition, the planes. So explosions allegedly took place near a Russian command center. Casualties are yet to be determined. Melitopol is this town here, okay? Occupied by Russia. Again, this whole swath is occupied by Russia. Melitopol. So it's kind of right in the middle. Zaporizhia is up here, Kherson's here, Zaporizhia province, Kherson province, Melitopol is right in the middle there. Russia's still having problems with recruitment. Like, quick sip of tea. Actually, I'll get it in here because the tea's very hot, so I don't want to burn myself here. Taking it for my voice. There we go. Russian recruitment problems. Russian forces continue to face recruitment challenges, likely even when recruiting reservists and volunteers for the most prestigious units. The Novgorod Oblast local outlets, this is in Russia, report that this was interesting, that Russian forces are recruiting residents with no prior military experience to serve on the submarine Veliki Novgorod. Commander of the Veliki Novgorod stated that the submarine has 8 vacancies of a crew of 60 and asserted that recruits do not need to have prior special training or to have served in the Russian forces at all. They're literally getting these guys to work on submarines who not only have no submarine experience, they have no military experience at all. And they're that desperate to get new people. The Veliki Novgorod submarine is currently supporting the Russian invasion in Ukraine, operating in the Black Sea. This is from Institute for the Study of War. This recruiting effort suggests that Russian forces are struggling to generate interest, even for positions not directly on the front line. That's the interesting point there, that basically the Russians are having such a hard time getting people to sign up because, again, they're still not having a mass mobilization, right? They're having such a hard time getting people to sign up, even paying people. And because this is a position that in principle should be safer, submarines are very hard to find and very hard to hit, that even these positions, they can't get anybody to sign up. So that's why they're having to say, anybody, anybody come. It indicates that the Russian, actually, what's interesting about this, I'd love to see more analysis from like the CIA guys and everything else on this. But to me, that suggests that the Russian people may know more than we do. Excuse me, not than we do, may know more than we suspect they know about what's actually going on with this war. Because you'd think if the Russian people thought the war was going well, they'd say, you know what, I could use a job. It's a submarine. Submarines are safe, well, other than, as somebody just said here on TikTok, the Kursk is entering the room. Other than the Kursk that the Russians let everybody die 20 years ago. But overall, the subs are safer. People don't want to get into this war at all. That's very interesting. I mean, it's very interesting. The Ukrainians report the defense minister Reznikov told Voice of America today that contrary to Russia's repeated claims that its forces had destroyed a number of HIMARS rocket systems in Ukraine, Kyiv has all of its units. And so far, they've received 16 units from the U.S. I think we've got another 4 coming. I'm trying to remember. I've lost track now. Somebody help me out here. It's 20 total now, isn't it, that they're going to have from us? I think so. Poland. This was interesting. Poland is slamming the German chancellor for opposing an EU tourist visa ban for the Russians. Polish deputy foreign minister, I'm not even going to try that. I'm going to go with Pridash. I'm going to go with Pridash. Spridash? Polish notoriously doesn't have vowels. I had a math teacher in high school. His last name was Resch. His name had no vowels. So this guy's name has it has Y too, but Pridash, I'm going to go, said on August 17th that he sees Berlin's position as an ignorant attempt to divide good Russians and a bad czar. What Chancellor, did I call him Kohl again? I may have. What Chancellor Scholz was saying in Germany is we shouldn't ban Russians from tourism in Europe because it's not their fault. Putin's bad, but the Russian citizens aren't. And a lot of the other European countries in the East, the Baltic states, and now Poland are saying that's ridiculous. We should be cutting these guys off. Finland as well. Finland yesterday said they were cutting back 90% in terms of the visas they were giving Russians because the Russians would transit Finland in order to go to other European spots. So the Polish minister, deputy foreign minister, argued that there is enormous support for Russian dictator Vladimir Putin's policies among ordinary Russians, as calls for an EU-wide travel ban for Russian citizens are growing. German Chancellor Scholz said he doesn't support such a coordinated approach to punish Moscow for the war in Ukraine because, quote, this is not the war of the Russian people, but it is Putin's war. Sure. Denmark and, In related news, Denmark is ready to limit entry of Russian tourists, regardless of the European Union decision. In comments to the Danish news agency Ritzau, Danish Foreign Minister Kofod called it a disgrace that Russian tourists can sunbathe in Europe while Ukrainian cities are being bombed beyond recognition. This is an ongoing issue, and it's going to be interesting to see as it goes on. Because, as I've been telling you, it's been going on for about a week now. And there's been this interesting disagreement between, well, actually, honestly, Scholz is the only person I've seen even really defend it. He and a couple of reporters are the only people I've seen said, the poor Russian citizens, why would we want to cut them off? Everybody else is like, because they're committing genocide. Anyway. Australia cancels approval for a new Russian embassy building. This was good too. I brought this up not just as a little dig at the Russian, but it shows you this is why you also cut off the people coming in with their visas, for tourist visas. You need to inconvenience the Russians at every step of the way so that it's like radiation poisoning in the sense that, you get a little bit, you get a little bit, you get a little bit, and it builds up. And every little bit might not be poisonous or dangerous, but when it gets cumulative, it starts to become a problem. And you want to make it cumulatively a problem for the Russians that they're committing genocide in Ukraine. And it's just uncomfortable with the visas, and now you got their embassy. So local authorities in Canberra cited failure to meet construction deadlines as the reason for terminating the lease on the new embassy building site, though they mentioned that the full-scale invasion of Ukraine did not help, quote unquote, Russia's case. You kind of have to talk about understatement. Yes, they didn't get their little permits in time, but it also didn't help that they're committing genocide. A Russian court on Tuesday fined a longtime rock star. Now, this is actually good news. I like to see this, not that he's being fined, but this is a nice story because it actually shows a very well-known Russian, a top pop star, speaking out. Now, you could say he's got more power because he's a pop star, but you also could say he's got more to lose because he's got a lot of money and a lot of influence and a lot of fame. He loses that, right? Thank you, Stephen, for the dash. Oops, sorry, getting a little more tea here. The Russian court on Tuesday fined a longtime rock star who had condemned the war during a concert in May and questioned whether the veneration of President Putin constituted true patriotism. Listen to this. The court said that the star Yuri Shevchuk, 65, the front man of the band DDT, had been fined $815, obviously in rubles, for making a speech that contained public calls to prevent the use of Russian armed forces. Now, I'm going to tell you what he said, which is really good. He responded with a statement saying he has always been opposed to war everywhere, and he has opposed every war. Like, that's what he does. He does not believe in war, and he felt the need to be consistent. But having said that, listen to what this guy said. He said on stage before a packed stadium that people in Ukraine were dying just to fulfill, quote, some kind of Napoleonic plans of another Caesar. That's not just opposing war. Okay, he went on. He added, the motherland, my friends, is not a part of the president's body that you have to lick and kiss all the time. The motherland is a poor grandmother selling potatoes at the train station. The crowd clapped and cheered. That's impressive stuff. I mean, that is not just being anti-war. That's being anti this war, and it's also anti-Putin. And the fact that he got the crowd to cheer was interesting too. And that he's going after young people. Anyway, that was you got to give this guy credit. I'd give him a visa to go to France if he wants one. He's the only person, but he gets a visa. Recruitment. Oh, more recruitment problems. Yes, I should have put this story with the other story. Russia is conducting a recruitment campaign targeting citizens of Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan, according to Ukraine's military intelligence. The Defense Ministry's main intelligence directorate also said that discontent is growing in Chechnya because locals are being forced to join Russian troops in Ukraine under the threat of criminal prosecution and torture. Oh, and then finally, this is great. I've got a little, well, I printed out the picture. I can show you. I think I've got it on my phone. I can show you a better picture on my phone. In supermarkets throughout Ukraine, a campaign is being held to label the products of brands. They've got stickers to put on the products of brands in the supermarkets whose manufacturers are still doing business in Russia. The stickers read sponsors of Russian terrorism that they're putting on the goods. Hang on, because I retweeted it, so I know I've got the actual, I printed it out, but the printed picture is hard to see. Hang on, guys. Here we go. Here we go. This made me crack up. Now, if you look on the Jay's potato chips, it's the thank you PS. I'm going to call you PS. Oh, that's a new one. I haven't seen. That may be the new one for August. That was very cool. The Lay's, it's a black sticker on the bottom, and the Jay's, it's a yellow sticker. There you go. So you see the Jay's potato chips, it's big yellow sticker, and the Lay's, it still is. Are they both Lay's? Oh, they're both Lay's. They're both Lay's. Yeah, the black one on the bottom. Yeah, they're both Lay's. But see the yellow sticker and then the black sticker. Wait, actually, I shouldn't say that. Is the black sticker? I can't actually tell if the black sticker is. I think the black sticker also is one of their stickers. It probably is. The yellow certainly. Oh yeah. Oh, they've got a QR code. They've got a QR code. Oh, I like that. That's nice. Oh, thank you, Inspired Woman. They've got a QR code for the campaign. They also mentioned other brands they're targeting. Now, I'm going to include brands I've not heard of because I'm wondering if these are European or Australian brands, some of these. There are such brands as Greenfield, Lay's, Twix, Kit Kat, Cruise Team, KHRUS, don't know it, 7-Up, Cheetos, Agusha, Rexona, Doritos, Dove, we know those, and Vici or Vici, V-I-C-I. Don't know a lot of these. Thought I'd mention them in case, you're from any country that's got these. But kind of amazing to me that anybody. Now, there's a funny thing. Vici, it could be. V-I-C-I makes me wonder about that. Here's the question. I don't know whether anybody wants to try the QR code on this. I don't know that it's a good enough picture for you to get the QR code. And is it too scary for you to scan some QR code from Ukraine? You tell me. Here, I'll show you guys. Is that too scary to try to scan it with your phone? If anybody has the nerve to do it and let me know if it works. It's bent too, though, so I don't know whether it's going to actually work. Twix is from the UK. That's what I figured. Send picture on Signal. Oh, okay. So I can try it on my phone on Signal. Hang on. I'm going to try this. Hold on. So Vlad is Vlad. Syndicate sending it to me here. Okay, good. All right. Did you? Sent picture on Signal. Niet. I am seeing nothing, Mr. Syndicate. On my Signal. Nope. Niet. Oh, well. Well, we're done with the news anyway, so we'll go to the question and answer, but send it again really quick, Signal. I want to see Signal. Or actually, I can try to send it to myself. I want to see if this, like I said, if this works. I'm going to text it to myself. Hang on. So I can tell you guys what it actually, the other thing is I can take this. Oh, that is, no, it says Russian terrorism. I can even read that. The first one. Oh yeah. Sponsori. Oh, this is like easy Russian. Easy Ukrainian. Sponsori Rossiskovo Russian terrorizmu. That's easy. Sponsor of Russian terrorism. Excellent. Okay, I'll send it to you, Syndicate, because we're still going to try to pull up this page because I think it would be neat to show you guys. Hang on, Syndicate. There you go. All right, I'm sending it to Syndicate on Signal, and I am going to text it to myself and see if it's big enough for me just to read off my own screen. Hang on. And I'm going to trust that some Ukrainian isn't hacking my phone. I'm trusting you people in Ukraine. All right, hold on. Opening this now. Come on, kids. Texting it to myself. Where is it? All right, attachment. Nope. There it is. Okay, hang on. Let me see if this even. Sorry, folks. I mean, I'm done with the substance anyway. I mean, with the news. I'm going to do questions in a minute, but let me see. Syndicate, see if you can get it. It's not wanting to recognize it. I don't know if it's too. Yeah, it may just be too. See if you can do anything with it, Syndicate. Yeah, it's not working on my end. Oh well. Oh well. What do you do? All right, guys, let's do the questions. I will go to TikTok. The Q&A is in my profile. It should work for a lot of you all. This does end up on YouTube. Yep, every night you can go watch this on YouTube afterwards. So it saves it there. Oh, we are connected using Signal. Of course we are. I did send you the picture on Signal. So yeah, see what you can do with it. My concern is that it's also twisted a little bit, so it's hard to, the QR code. I really want to figure out what the Ukrainian QR code thing does. So what do we got here? Q&A, Q&A, Q&A. Anything new on Russia's loan default? No, and that's a really good question, because we seem to get news about it, and then it disappears for a few months when each month is a new payment is due, but we haven't heard anything, and I don't know why. That's a good question. Nope, no news. Do you think it will become dangerous for Russians to travel out of the country? I remember what happened after every terrorist attack in the U.S. Well, that's interesting. I'm assuming you mean would Russians face attacks on them because of people pissed at them? I would say if you were a Russian coming to America, you might be in trouble. I just don't think it would be very safe in parts of the country for you. I wouldn't attack you, but I would imagine some of the scarier places in America, might not be too safe to be Russian, but who knows? But I don't know. That's an interesting question. I don't know that that's necessarily an issue in Europe, though. I mean, the problem we've been seeing in Europe, it's been Russians in other countries that have been acting up and been really obnoxious. So, that's been the more tea. That's been the problem. Oops. Hang on. More tea. Oh. Yeah, I didn't really care about this. I mean, what I mean is I saw this. Mrs. Vaughn is saying, what about China teaming up with Russia for military exercises? I saw that. They're also including a number of places, including India. I'm trying to remember who the other countries were. India was the one that stuck out as interesting to me. Why India would do it with them, but maybe it's in case war with Pakistan or something, and they want to get Russian help. But it was the obvious people otherwise. Yeah, Belarus was one. Correct, Ali. Belarus was one. It was the obvious people, but the India one I thought was interesting. I mean, I'd rather not have them do joint exercises because it makes them harder to go to war together if their troops aren't used to it. But, we're always doing our own exercises in Asia too. I mean, and it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to war. We haven't, right? So, I saw the news and I kind of went, I'm not sure that I necessarily care. Honestly, I'm also kind of curious. How much can the Russians really afford to do with war exercises right now, with war games? I mean, they don't have the manpower. What are they doing? Unless it's just their Navy, but even their Navy, the ships that need the experience, are already engaged in the Black Sea. So yeah, I didn't think of that till right now, but how much experience are they really getting? Yeah, a military expo. Maybe they're using fake pontoons and thingies. You know what I mean? Oh, thank you, Cindy, for putting that up there. I appreciate that. I did not ask Cindy to put that on TikTok, but it was nice of her to do. Let me see here. Who's it? Oh, Annette. Hey, Annette. What about North Korea recognizing Donbass as a Russian republic? Again, I don't really care. I just think it's North Korea. They're such morons anyway. I mean, you know what I mean? Though North Korea is always causing trouble. I think this was, if I'm not incorrect, that happened like a week or two ago because the Ukrainians broke off diplomatic relations. Wasn't it Korea? Or was that Syria? No, that was Syria. That was Syria. That's right. That was Syria like a week or two ago. But North Korea, I mean, I just, you know, the thing with North Korea is, look, clearly Ukraine is on the side of NATO and Japan's even helping, right? So you've even got the good guys in Asia that are on the side of Ukraine. So North Korea has to take the other side. And that's kind of the way I feel about it, you know? So no, I don't mean to be dismissive of your question, but I just, you know, I mean, that's sort of the least obnoxious thing North Korea has done in years, you know, recognizing some Ukrainian republic. It's like, okay, whatever. I mean, you know, sure. Okay, crazy person. All right, go have fun with that person. Let me, hang on a second here. Pull, no question, just thank you for keeping me informed. Thank you, Cecil, I appreciate that. I'm calling you Cecil, that's cute. I told you, I see your name and I do that because it's Cecil to us Americans, but the Brits call it Cecil, and for some reason I'm stuck thinking Cecil now. I think it's because we've got such an international crowd here that like that's the way I assume, but it's not necessarily true. The QR seems to be unreadable. Oh, well, it was a nice idea. Yeah, now, the QR, actually, quick little thing. That Ukrainian, we were talking about the Ukrainian campaign where the advocacy campaign where they're putting stickers on products like Lay's potato chips that say sponsor of Russian terrorism because they haven't pulled out of Russia yet, right? Lisa, thank you for that. It's got a QR code on it that I couldn't pull up. Syndicate just tried cleaning it up. He couldn't pull it up. And it's got me wondering if the QR code isn't simply just one more obnoxious way to scare the brands. Because the brands are going, oh my God, they've even got a QR code, right? You know, for the kids, it's so edgy. But at the same time, the QR code could be nothing. And the brand is thinking, well, we must have gotten a bad, like what I did. Oh, it must be a bad picture of the QR code that it's not working. It could just be, it's probably not reversed though, because the Lay's was written correctly. It could be a bluff. If I were doing it and I didn't have time or ability to do a really QR code, I might just bluff and do it, you know, and just make it look like a QR code. Now, having said that, I would think the activists would know how to do their own QR code. So, you know, yeah, that's actually, you're right. I could see if Vlad sees, that would be funny to ask actually, if Vlad sees it, if he's got any kind of, if he sees them in the grocery. Now, mind you, that could be in a grocery store in one region too. It may not be in Vlad's region, but that's interesting. What else we got here? Nothing about North Korea offering the troops. You know, I looked into that more and it looks like it was a total rumor. This was a week or two ago. There were a couple stories flying around that North Korea had offered 100,000 troops to the Russians to fight in Ukraine. Nobody could find any evidence backing up that at all. The story itself appears to have come from Russian disinformation or Russians claiming it. And then people started picking up on social media, and then the newspapers, and this is actually when, mind you, it was the goofy newspapers. I don't remember if it was the New York Post or who, but people who basically don't have as high of journalistic standards picked it up and ran with it, you know, and they just claimed it was true or whatever. So everyone started believing it. The main stories the main good newspapers didn't report on it because they could, the Mirror, exactly. It'd be places like the Mirror reporting on it. People who just don't care about the truth. They just want to get eyeballs. They want to get page views, right? They want you to look at the story. They don't care if it's true. So it looks like that story, there was nothing to it, actually. A moment. John, do you feel like this counteroffensive may work, or will it turn to a further mess? Oh, I mean, I don't think it's a mess. I don't think it'll turn into a mess. Working is what's going to be hard, in the sense that, look, for the Ukrainian counteroffensive to work, right? My handy dandy t-shirt here. Ukraine wants to get back its territory. First, it wants to cut off the Russian troops. So the beginning is kicking the Russians out of Kherson and this region north of the river. they could pull that off, right? I mean, it's a small bite-sized thing that they can pull off. Down here and Zaporizhia, that's going to take more work. And I was reading some analysis on this today, not saying it can't be done, but saying it's going to be hard because the Russians are dug in. The Russians have been spending months and months and months, building up their defenses in these areas. And you remember from when the war started, we were talking about that, Russia was going to have a hard time because Ukraine was the defender in that case, and how the advantage always goes with the defender. And it takes the person going on the offensive rather than the defensive a lot more manpower and everything else to be able to attack. Thank you, Bonnie and Catherine. So what were we saying with this? Oh yeah. So, it's going to be harder for them to go after that, but honestly, they've done really well so far. I mean, obviously nothing's been perfect. Russia occupies 20% of their country, but dear Lord, right? Russia was supposed to win in 3 days. If we get them the right weapons, if we get them enough weapons, and we hopefully start to get them even better weapons with longer range, I don't know. What I mean is they could win. They could get back Kherson and Zaporizhia, these two provinces. And then the question becomes interesting. Do they go for Crimea? Or do they start to try to, which is what I thought they were going to do, do they start to push their way up here slowly, going further up? Or do they just freak the Russians out and go south? Because the Russians right now are mostly fighting over here. So do they really freak the Russians out by coming in this way and going, nope, we're not even going for Zaporizhia, we're going to Crimea? Because they know Crimea, as I discussed yesterday, super important for Putin on a spiritual level. What was that horrible quote that I had? Two different quotes of what Putin had said yesterday. I don't know if anybody remembers the crazy quotes. I just threw them out. I don't have them now, but they were these almost religious, almost sexual quotes. They were really weird of sort of what Putin had said about Crimea. Pull this up. Anything new in Russia's loan default? Nope, as we said. Haven't seen anything about Trump as the Russian spy videos. Nope. I mean, I know the story that's from the Daily Beast. That I know. Oh yeah, I know that. I mean, I already know that. Yeah, that's the stories from the Russian. It's just Russian TV. I'm not even going to get into it. It's Russian state TV is causing trouble. They referred to Trump as their spy and how now he's lost and he can't help them anymore. They're just stirring the pot. It's Russia simply, let's cause as much trouble and chaos in America as possible. So we say Trump's our guy, but Trump's lost. And by saying, oh, Trump's in trouble, now he's going to jail, they make Trump freak out more because he's, lost his Russian support or whatever. So anyway, you can't get to Discord. Okay. Carol. Oh, Carol, you're my Carol. Yes. I was wondering, I'm like, who wants me to get an email? Yes, I will. I just saved it. Hopefully I remember to send your information to Syndicate so we can help you. Yeah. Syndicate, Carol's been helping out with the t-shirts. She was helping Wendy and me to just sort of give feedback because Carol's the one with all the experience doing the t-shirts. She's having a hard time getting Discord to work. Yes, I will do that. Well, we're almost done in 7 minutes. I'll do that right when we're done with that. Hi, John. Are you not doing weekend lives anymore? So far, I am not. Live in the UK and difficult to make 11 o'clock weekdays. I know. So far, I'm taking off the weekends because my voice has been so goofy. And again, I don't want to go through all the details. Been to the doctors, been to everybody. And, it's just the voice is still a mess. So I'm trying to at least take the weekends off to give my voice a little less whatever. But I don't know. I don't even know that that's the problem, but nonetheless, for right now, I'm going to try to do that if I can. Sorry about that. I know it makes it harder for the Europeans. So I'm sorry about that, but that's the only reason. Do you think Putin's winter strategy will be successful? Western European countries seem very dependent on Russian oil and gas, which he can cut off. Yes, that is certainly a concern. I was seeing some analyses today about the war and how it's going, and it was talking about how one of the issues that Ukraine has got to consider is the winter. And having now the interesting point was not necessarily winning the war by the winter, but having significant victories by the winter so that the Europeans don't look at this and go, look, Putin just cut off our oil and gas, right? We're having massive problems, in the winter when demand spikes for oil and gas, for energy in general, right? In Europe, especially, where a lot of countries don't have air conditioning, but they have heating. So in the summer, the demand for energy isn't as much. In America, we have both a lot of places. So, demand could be similar. My heating bill in the winter is similar to my summer air conditioning bill, right? Whereas in Europe, in the winter is when the demand kicks up, right? Well, what the analysis was saying was the Ukrainians, their political calculus could be that they are being forced to show some significant victories by the winter so that the Europeans don't sit there and go, are you kidding me? This is just a stalemate. We're sitting here, freezing to death, wasting money. Our businesses are being shut down because for a war where nothing's happening, right? Rather than, hey, Ukraine has now gotten back all of Kherson province. Ukraine has now taken land back in Crimea, right? So all of a sudden, you're seeing these victories so that the Ukrainians can say, hey guys, we are on a roll here. This is not a stalemate. It's not a bad point. It's also not a bad point for just wanting ongoing support for Ukraine, not just because of the sanctions, but to get continued Western aid, Western weapons, Western money. It's like getting money from a donor, right? You gotta show me the money. Show me that this is working. Now there's that. Now I will say there's a little bit of hypocrisy going on from Western governments, because I still believe that NATO is making sure that the individual NATO countries are making sure that we give Ukraine just enough weapons to break even. We give them enough weapons to give Putin a black eye, but not to make such a significant progress that Putin freaks out. And, again, Biden, Schultz, and Macron think if Putin freaks out, he's going to go nuclear or whatever. I don't think he will. But therefore, we're giving Ukraine enough to, again, give Russia these little black eyes, but not to get back their territory. And this comes back to that earlier question. Somebody had asked about whether I thought Ukraine could actually, make a significant advances with the counteroffensive. I mean, they would do a hell of a lot better if we would actually provide them with longer range missiles for the HIMARS and the multiple launch rocket system, MLRS, for those. If we got them the rockets that went 200 miles instead of 43 to 60 miles, thank you, Bonnie, for that, it would help. But so, I guess my point there is, this is sort of something that kind of hit me, is there's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. We're not giving the Ukrainians enough to win this. So the war will be dragged out. It'll be dragged out maybe as a stalemate. And what does that mean? That means we're giving the Russians more time to screw with Europe. Because once winter comes, then they've really got the Europeans by the cojones. The only issue there is whether Putin's bluffing and whether Putin himself can't afford to cut off all oil and gas in the winter because he needs the money too. And because by the time winter hits, will Putin have already used so much of his reserve money savings, so to speak, that he's going to need the extra money from oil and gas? Who knows? Who knows? But I do kind of wonder if, we're all freaking out about what's going to happen to Europe. I still wonder whether Putin's not worried about, basically that he's bluffing, that he knows right now he can screw around because it's not a ton, but come the winter, he may not be able to afford to cut Europe off 100% either. Who knows? Did you see the breakdown of the U.S. military aid package to Ukraine and where the money is to be spent? Not a new package. No, I did not see a new package at all. Was there a new one out today? I didn't see it. Craig is saying, do you think our slow but sure supply of weapons is like the boiling frog analogy? Yes. Well, I don't know about boiling frog. It's a little different. It reminds me more of I mean, I don't even know what to call it. It's a it's a bad military strategy, right? Rather than going in to win, you're going into, well, this week I'm only going to fight you 10%. And next month I'm going to fight you 15% of my ability to fight you. And next month I'm going to fight you 20% of my ability to fight you. Why? I don't know. But all that means is that you're not planning to win. I just don't. It's driving me crazy. But I mean, it's boiling, except that Ukraine's the frog, and we're boiling the Ukrainian frog to a degree, by using that analogy. But sorry, the Black American. I agree with this point. It's really frustrating. Ukrainian lives are being lost because USA isn't trying to win, but trying to not lose. Yeah, and as I've said, Biden has repeatedly said, he hasn't said much recently on this, but Biden said once within one day. And I pulled up these two quotes because I read it to you guys. Within one day, Biden said, we can, something to the fact, paraphrasing, we cannot afford to let Russia win. And then later on in the speech, he said, we cannot let Ukraine lose. And it was really cute because it sounds like, again, I guarantee you one of his staff came up with it and said, hey, this is great, because it sounds like you're saying, we're supporting Ukraine to win, but you're really not. You're saying we're going to stop Ukraine from losing, and we're going to stop Russia from winning. But that means a tie. So yeah, and it's even worse than the tie thing because it's not even that. It's sort of like we're going one step further. We're going one step further, hurting Russia, but only incrementally. Only incrementally. Oh, sorry. I didn't see that, Joseph. Sorry. There we go. Joseph had another comment. I saw you mention that you said something and I didn't see it. All right, I guess this is going to be a joke. Don't you think you need to worry too much about North Korea? Pretty sure their tech students still thinking virtual reality is those plastic 3D glasses we used to get in magazines in the 80s. No, exactly. I mean, I do feel sorry for the North Korean people because what a mess that place is. PB&J asks, and then I am going to close up shop because it's 7:00 and I'm trying to do these shorter, an hour, still pretty good. Do you think we are offering guidance and strategy, or is Ukraine good and experienced enough to go their own? I mean, I'm sure we're offering guidance on strategy. The question is whether the Ukrainians want it or need it. It's hard to say. I mean, before 2014, right? After 2014, they were doing a lot more. I mean, a lot more. They were doing a lot of NATO training and all that kind of stuff. And they really built a much better, an amazing military force. My guess is we are offering it to the extent they want it, would be my guess. That we would very diplomatically, say, hey, our military is talking to their military, and actually military too. Military wouldn't be diplomatic. Military would just say, look, we'll give you as much strategy advice as you want. If you don't need it, tell us to go F off. I'm sure that's what one of our generals probably said that. Tell me to go F off and I won't bother you. But if you want my advice and you got a plan, I'm happy to look at it and give you some feedback. That's my guess. But what your question really gets to then is, do you think the Ukrainians are taking strategic advice from us, or don't they need it? I don't know. I mean, we've got some great generals, but maybe they do too. Obviously, they've been doing pretty well on strategy. I mean, God, they've really been running the Russians around in circles. Thank you, Grateful Ed. The Kerch Bridge was closed last night. This is interesting. So the Kerch Bridge is this bridge right here, the town of Kerch. This is the edge of Ukraine, Crimea, which the Russians occupy since 2014. They stole it in 2014. And this will, even though it's blue, this actually is Russia over here. There's like a stick of Russia, and then it kind of comes down like this and goes up like this. So this is Russia. So there's a little bit of water between the two. I don't know if that's an isthmus or what that is. And there's a bridge that goes across the Kerch Bridge. It's still too far for the Ukrainians to hit. Well, we think, let's see what happens. And A lot of Russians in the last week have been fleeing across the bridge because they've been a little freaked out because of all the bombing. And Kelly Fonts is saying the Kerch Bridge was closed last night by Russia for security. Thank you, Lindy, for the origami. For security, but Ukraine is reporting that their high command and soldiers have been evacuating their families from Crimea back to Russia. That's interesting. I don't know. Now, there was a report, and actually, I asked somebody about this. I don't know if he got back to me. There was a report that the Russians were checking papers of anybody trying to leave, of citizens trying to leave Crimea across the Kerch Bridge into Russia. And what I didn't understand was that meant to be an effort to, I don't know, was that an effort to stop Ukrainian spies, or was something else going on, you know? And I don't know. But I had written back and asked one of a very big DC political guy. Let me see if by chance Anders Aslund, but I don't know if he responded. Some other people wrote back and said they need a critical mass of Russians there so they can continue to pretend Crimea is Russia. Well, that's one point. No, there's no answer. We don't know. Hang on, what is this about? Okay. Anyway, there you go. All right, guys, let's stop because it's 7:04. I am trying to do these things now till 7 o'clock. It's funny, as I go on, though, my voice actually got better, which is crazy. Maybe it's from the tea and stuff. But nonetheless, let's call it quits. I don't really want to force it. I am going to move over to the Discord syndicate. As soon as I move over, I will send you Carol's email, because if you can help her, it'd be nice. She's been very helpful to me on the t-shirt stuff for free, of course, giving her, her consulting advice, so to speak. Thank you, guys. Tomorrow, we're going to do an hour earlier so I can go have dinner with Marion, my friend who I went to the Russian Far East with years ago, who's visiting DC and possibly her family. So I want to do an hour earlier. So it's going to be 5 p.m. New York time tomorrow. So sorry for the Americans. Yay for the Europeans. So I will tell Marion hi. And but as soon as I get off with you guys, I will set it up so 5 p.m. so I don't forget. But let's go over to the Discord now. Discord.aravosis.com. If you haven't set it up yet, you're just not cool. If you haven't set it up yet, it works much better to. I do need to get Marion to do a live though. Yes, it works much better to install the app first for the Discord. So please go over and try that out, guys. All right. Thank you for getting the 82,000 likes. Love you guys. Thank you for doing that on TikTok. Thanks the rest of you. And let's go over to Discord. Okay. Discord.aravosis.com. I will send you the link here really quick, but it's pretty simple. The only thing is, as I said, it's much easier with the app, but you might be able to pull it off without the app. All right. Get it quickly because I'm going to sign off. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow or we'll chat a little bit more just for fun over the Discord. All right.